Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something I think pretty much everyone can relate to. We are looking at how modern Islamic youth media tackles some of the toughest challenges kids face today and how it uses timeless traditions to do it. We're going to walk through two really fascinating, highly relatable stories. It's all about figuring out how to navigate this intense, hyper-connected modern world through the lens of faith.
So, think about this for a second. This right here is the core conflict we're unpacking today. How exactly do you balance eternal, ancient values with the very real, everyday anxieties of growing up in a digital, socially demanding world? It's a wild contrast, right? On one hand, you have literally thousands of years of deep tradition. On the other, you've got dopamine-driven mobile games and the immediate, sometimes crushing weight of what the kids at school think of you. It is a tough battleground, for sure.
To unpack all of this, we're going to hit 4 quick stops. First, the modern dilemmas. Second, the power of wise guidance. Third, finding peace through faith. And finally, the core moral takeaways. Let's get right into it. All right, part 1, the modern dilemmas, screens, and social anxiety. Let's meet our two protagonists, Fatima and Khalid. Now, both of these kids are facing huge hurdles that are directly testing their foundational values. Let's look at them side by side. First up, we have Fatima. She's incredibly excited because it's fancy day at school, and she proudly decides to wear her beautiful pink hijab. But when she gets there, bam, the harsh reality of schoolyard peer pressure hits. The wind is blowing, and the other kids start mocking her, asking why she's wearing such heavy cloth on a beautiful day. You can imagine how painful and isolating that feels. Then, on the flip side, we have Khalid. His challenge isn't external at all. It's literally right in the palm of his hand. He is so hopelessly hooked on his mobile games that he completely ignores the adhan, the sacred call to prayer that's echoing right through his house. You know how it goes with phones, right? It's a slippery slope, and you can really see the creeping, escalating nature of Khalid's digital addiction here. Look at this timeline. In the early afternoon, at Sohar, his mom gently tells him to pause and pray. He totally ignores it. By late afternoon, Asr, he drops the classic gamer excuse. Just one more level, Mom, I promise. And then finally, by Maghrib, as the sun sets, his mother's patience just completely shatters. She snaps, snatches the phone away, and asks him a really heavy question. How is he going to face God if he treats his duties like they're just a game? The addiction has completely blinded him to reality. Moving right along to part 2, the power of wise guidance, or how we reframe the conflict. Okay, so both kids hit a breaking point. Fatima is in tears from the bullying, and Khalid is dealing with his mother's profound disappointment. But this is where the magic happens. A loved one steps in with some gentle, wise intervention. When Fatima comes home crying, her mom doesn't just say, "Oh, ignore those kids." Instead, she completely reframes the concept of the hijab using the idea of haya, or modesty. She beautifully explains that haya is actually a protective jewel, a direct gift from Allah. It's not some oppressive burden, it's a shield. She even compares it to a candy wrapper that protects the sweet inside from getting dirty. And this is the exact moment everything shifts for Fatima. Her mother tells her, Haya is our best jewel. When we have Haya, we are full of confidence. By saying this, she is actively equipping Fatima with spiritual armor. Framing modesty as a source of immense strength rather than a restriction gives Fatima the exact tools she needs to brush off those playground bullies. Meanwhile, back in Khalid's world, his friend Abdullah steps up. Abdullah sees the huge fight between Khalid and his mom, and he takes Khalid outside under the night sky, right near a softly lit mosque. He uses this incredibly powerful contrast to pull Khalid right out of his dopamine loop. Abdullah basically says, look, mobile games just give you this temporary, fleeting distraction, but namaz, prayer, that provides eternal, deep peace to your heart. Abdullah completely flips the script on what prayer actually is. He gently explains that by blowing off his prayers, Khalid isn't just skipping out on some annoying chore his mom asked him to do. He's actually skipping a personal, peaceful meeting with his creator. He asks Khalid, if we don't give Allah our time, how can he help us? It's a massive perspective shift, turning prayer from a mandated obligation into a foundational part of who he is. Which brings us to section 3, finding peace through faith, where we see these spiritual resolutions play out in real life. The cool thing here is how this gentle reframing actually changes their behavior. Take Fatima. She totally internalizes her mom's lesson. She sees Haya as her own protective gift. So the very next day, she marches back into school wearing her pink hijab. Not with shame, but just bursting with pride. She literally tells her classmates that her hijab gives her Allah's protection. And guess what? That unshakable confidence completely disarms the bullies. She actually earns their genuine respect, and her previously judgmental friends admit it's really fun to play with her now. Her spiritual grounding completely solved her social anxiety. Khaled has his own massive lightbulb moment. Deeply moved by what Abdallah said, he goes straight into the warmly lit mosque. He performs wudu, the ritual washing, and he prays with this incredible sincerity and deep repentance. After that, he heads home, goes straight to his mother, gently kisses her hands, and begs for her forgiveness. And here is the emotional climax of Khaled's journey. He makes this profound promise. I promise that from today I will not waste any namaz. That right there cements his spiritual awakening. His mom cries tears of joy, they hug, and that peaceful, loving vibe is completely restored to their household, a vibe that his screen addiction had basically stolen. Finally, Section 4, the core moral takeaways. Let's synthesize all these lessons. Looking at this table, it's almost like a master blueprint for families. A shared formula emerges from both stories. You start with a super relatable modern dilemma, right? Peer pressure or a smartphone addiction. But instead of just reacting with pure discipline or anger, a loved one introduces a traditional core value. Haya for Fatima, namaz for Khaled. And integrating that timeless value is what actually leads to a deeply positive resolution. The big takeaways here are crystal clear. Unshakable confidence, when it's rooted in faith, completely neutralizes social peer pressure. Real, lasting spiritual peace will always outlast the quick dopamine hits of digital distractions. And notice the teaching method, too. Gentle, empathetic guidance, like Abdullah chatting under the stars or Fatima's mom explaining the jewel, is vastly more effective than Khaled's mom initially just snapping and taking the phone. Ultimately, these traditional concepts serve as the ultimate shields for youth against the crazy noise of modern childhood. I absolutely love this quote from Khalid's mom at the very end of his story. She hugs him and says, "Mobile can be our necessity, but namaz is our identity." It is such a beautifully pragmatic view. It acknowledges that, hey, technology isn't inherently evil. We need it. It's a necessity today. But it insists that faith has to remain your core identity. You don't have to reject the modern world. You just have to make sure it doesn't overwrite who you truly are. And that wraps up our analysis. But before we go, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Whether you relate more to Fatima's playground struggles or Khaled's endless digital distractions, ask yourself, how do you balance the temporary noise of modern technology and social expectations with your own eternal core values? Take a hard look at your own daily habits and figure out what is truly acting as your identity. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time. Keep learning.